Hello everybody, it's me Carmine DiStefano, the Bookman.
They call him the Bookman, his rants never end. He's angry and he's loud and he has a lot of friends. If you have Alyssa Milano's number, you can always send it to Carmine DiStefano, the Bookman.
That song don't make no sense.
Hello everybody, it's me Carmine DiStefano, the Bookman. Throughout all of European history, there were these tales of creatures called werewolves. Demons that take human form and transform into bipedal ravenous wolves. Then in 1941, Hollywood partook in one of its many favorite practices, adaptation to old lore, in a movie called The Wolfman. And from that movie spawned a slew of other werewolf movies, none of which reached the prominence of their predecessor. Then, in 2010, Hollywood partook in another one of its favorite practices, readaptations, in their 2010 version of the 1941 classic The Wolfman called The Wolfman. Would the remake be worth it? Well, let's take a look at it together, shall we? Movie opens with a man out in the woods for no discernible reason, until he's attacked and...
Fatality.
Cut to Lawrence Talbot, played by Benicio del Toro, backstage after one of his plays. He's then met by Gwen, played by Emily Blunt. And that's it. Yes, I would. She tells him that his brother, her fiancé, has been lost for a while back at his hometown. Although he doesn't really feel like it, he ends up taking her word for it and returning back to his old house. And what a fucking house this thing is. It is ridiculously huge. He then meets...
Lawrence?
Hello, Father.
Love your suit.
John tells him that they've found his brother's body after he was slain in the woods. So Larry takes a trip to the morgue to see the remains of his brother. Trust me, you don't want to see that. Then in a local tavern, the men sitting around talk about the Talbot house being cursed and how the matriarch is a gypsy whore.
Had claws and didn't mind a load of buckshot. After that...
Obviously, this doesn't sit well with Larry since they're talking about his family. However, there seems to be some semblance of truth behind all these claims. Since her fiancé is dead, Gwen has to go to the funeral processions and stay over the house. She then confides in Lawrence that her relationship with his brother wasn't that great to begin with. But being back home where Larry didn't want to be originally takes him to his childhood years with his brother and the wonderful fun they had in this large estate. He also then remembers back when he snuck out at night and found his mother's bloody corpse in the arms of his father, which tormented him his entire life. After the funeral procession, Gwen mourns by herself in the woods, where Lawrence meets up with her and they speak a little bit. She then has to return back to her home and leave Lawrence in the house with his weird father. Since this is the 19th century, the brutal slaying of this man brings about a panic in the town, and many people get together to destroy the creature they're sure is a wolf. In fact, Lawrence speaks to this gypsy woman about this creature they're looking for. Of course, it had to be the gypsies. So all the men with guns convene at the woods, prepared with traps and everything to take down this creature. However, the creature then gets the jump on them. Ow!
Fatality.
And proceeds to slay everyone brutally in the nearby vicinity, despite their preparations. Lawrence then uses all of his marksman skills to hunt down this creature. But as he's trying to kill it, the creature gets the jump on him as well and bites him severely about the neck. The other surviving party members then come to his aid in time to save his life. However, the bite seems to have done more damage than they originally thought. As he recovers back in the Talbot estate, Gwen comes to his aid. And as she tries to mend him back to 100% health, she continues to have these weird, awkward interactions with the Father Talbot. She then notices how Lawrence is recovering rather quickly. In fact, he's recovering superhumanly quickly. Back in town, we're introduced to a new character. Inspector Francis Aberline, played by Hugo Weaving.
Francis Aberline, Scotland Yard. Honoured to meet you, Mr. Talbot. I'm a huge admirer.
I'm sorry, I just can't help myself.
Hear that, Mr. Anderson? That is the sound of inevitability.
His focus is strange cases, like this particular one. His meeting with Lawrence Talbot does not yield any definable results. So he goes back to his work as Lawrence goes to swooning Gwen in his favor. You don't suppose they'll fall in love, do you? When they return, they see a party of angry villagers at the estate. They're all looking to take Lawrence in for reasons he couldn't explain. Until Father John comes with gun in hand and a whole bunch of threats to get the guys off his lawn. Spending more time with Gwen, Lawrence realizes he's starting to thirst her blood. Hey director, what you say we move that camera just a little more southward? And his scar is completely healed. Fearing the worst, he tells Gwen to leave the estate as soon as she can, not wanting to hurt her. And she does, as he requests. While that's happening, the company back in town are preparing for another hunt. Lawrence then follows his father into the nether regions of this estate of his, the deep underground that he never knew was there. In that underground, he notices a tomb set aside for his mother, and a weird chair that is meant to keep somebody restrained. Who would be restrained?
It is a shrine to your beloved mother. She's a truly beautiful woman.
He leaves his father in his weird self-imposed cage until he notices he begins to transform, painfully, into a werewolf, and he wants to go out hunting. The villagers out in the woods once again set up some traps for him or whoever it is that was killing all these people. And as the Wolfman before, he springs all the traps and proceeds to slaughter everybody in many disgusting ways.
Fatality.
Next morning he wakes up in the woods covered in blood and met up by his father, who seems a little bit too sure of himself. When he goes back to the estate, he is then met with another company ready to take him in. They restrain him and bring him to this mental institute where he receives archaic and barbaric forms of treatment. All these treatments give him strange visions until he wakes up in a white room where his father is visiting. His father then tells him about how he once came across a feral young boy that bit him and turned him into a wolf himself. In that state, he ended up killing his mother, which is when Lawrence met up with them as a child. He also ended up killing his son because he wasn't restrained and thus was out to prowl on his own. That's all well and good until Lawrence is displayed in front of many scientists by the guy treating him for lycanthropy. After the gag in his mouth is removed, Lawrence then warns them,
I will kill all of you.
well, that was good, but it wasn't this.
I'll kill you! All of you!
However, the full moon's rising and this psychosis turns out to be true as he transforms in front of everybody and goes on another rampage. This one completely uncontrolled.
Fatality.
And takes his act on the streets where he kills some more people. He wakes up the next morning by the lake, covered in blood yet again. So he needs some help. He goes right to Gwen and asks her to hide him, as now they're beginning to fall in love. I didn't think they would fall in love. She does what is necessary to protect him while Hugo Weaving is on the case.
Surprised to see me?
By the time he gets there, Lawrence Talbot has escaped. Gwen is doing her homework to try to solve this problem he's having. She even talks to the gypsy woman, who tells her all about his condition and that her love is the only thing that can save him. We then find out exactly where Lawrence was going the whole time. Back home to face off against his father. His father seems a lot stronger than he appears and starts beating the crap out of him. However, Lawrence gets the upper hand until things begin to turn, literally, and they become werewolves. They fight in the burning building until Lawrence gets his claws into his father's neck. Gwen and Hugo Weaving stumble across a werewolf Lawrence. He attacks Hugo and bites his neck as Gwen runs off into the woods. Lawrence tracks her down in the woods, and though he has her at his mercy, Gwen uses their love to cool the savage beast. This gives her ample opportunity to get a gun and shoot him through the chest. This is where our friend Larry learns a very important lesson.
Love hurts, love strong.
He reverts back to his human form as he lay dying, and thanks her for saving his life, or at least protecting his soul. He then dies in her arms as we see Hugo Weaving recovering from his wolf bite and the Talbot estate burning to the ground. And that's pretty much it. So what did I think of this movie? Actually, I thought it was pretty okay. It's well directed, well put together, and well acted. Everybody does their best with their roles, and performs them at high quality. They make a very unthinkable fantasy into a rather believable storyline. They remain consistent with the era that they're portraying this movie from, and they kept it as close to the original as they possibly could without actually remaking the original. It has its scares, it has its frights, but it also has its rather gory and brutal deaths. If you are rather squeamish, you might not want to watch this movie, considering the gore that just explodes in your face. The Wolfman doesn't just kill somebody, he disembowels them, or beheads them, or removes fingers. It's rather intense. If you're bored one night and you want to take a gander, you wouldn't be disappointed. Overall, it was a nice tribute to the original horror classic. But it wasn't an original idea. Then again, in Hollywood today, who needs original ideas? Which will lead me to my Valentine's Day review for next week. Thank you all for watching. I have more for you soon to come. So stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.
Hear that, Mr. Anderson? That is the sound of inevitability.